Noah decided to keep his troubled visions to himself. He smiled bashfully. I didn't pay attention to the path. It was too dark last night, and I was concentrating on escaping. Victoria shook her head disappointed in Noah and continued talking.
Staying calm is the most important thing for survival in the wild. If you forget the way, don't worry. Analyze the terrain and landforms to determine the likely paths animals would take. Sometimes animals think just like humans, instinctively seeking a path through the deep mountains and forests. If you find an animal trail, you'll find the path you walked. You know how to look for animal tracks, right?
Noah listened. What she was saying made sense. Animals didn't just run around aimlessly in a thick forest. They'd instinctively seek a safe direction. People were the same. When it came to instinct, humans and beasts weren't so different after all. It might not be a perfect plan, but it had a certain logic to it. Noah had been tracking animal paths since he was a child. Trampled grass, broken twigs, droppings. He had learned to look for these clues ever since he began going on hunting trips with his father and cousins. Victoria's cold voice rang out again.
Whether you're in a shadowy forest or on a bushy hillside, you won't find a path just by staring at your feet. You have to look way ahead, dozens of meters away. Only then can you start to spot a faint trail. A little tilt in the grass, leaves turned over, and the undersides of the foliage showing. By comparing what you see nearby and far away, you can figure out the best path.
Noah was fascinated by how much he was learning from Victoria. He hung on to her every word and carefully made mental notes. The two continued their journey and their lessons as noon approached. Along the way, Victoria picked some herbs to apply to her wound, stopping the bleeding and curbing the inflammation, which put Noah's mind at ease. Soon they had retraced their steps to many places that they had passed before. Being able to find their way back smoothly made Noah all the more impressed with Victoria's method. After a quick search of the surroundings, the backpack was nowhere to be found. Victoria was right again. It was most likely taken by the enemy. With the sun beating down on them now, they began to feel hungry again. They found a place to sit and rest while setting about preparing a pheasant that they had hunted along the way. There was no water around to clean off the feathers and no way to start a fire. Back when he went hunting, there would always be a fire starter in the backpack, so starting a fire was never a worry. But after being in the wilderness for more than 2 days, he started just to see how important survival skills were. Victoria seemed to see through Noah's dilemma.
Now, I'll teach you the second trick to surviving in the wilderness, creating fire from nothing.
Noah's eyes lit up.
Amazing.
He had been interested in the fire Victoria had burned last time, but felt too stupid to ask about it. Noah hadn't expected Victoria to take the initiative to teach, and he listened attentively.
First, you need to find flammable tinder such as dry grass, dry leaves, birch bark, pine needles. Next is picking up firewood. Dry wood should be selected from dry, non-decayed trunks or branches. Try to choose hardwoods like pine or oak. They burn longer, have a larger flame, and produce more charcoal. Don't pick up firewood that's close to the ground. It has high moisture content, doesn't burn easily, and produces a lot of smoke that could disclose your location.
Noah had to keep taking mental notes of this important life lesson. Victoria was teaching him not just a solution for solving the current problem, but more comprehensive wilderness survival skills.
Next is drilling wood for fire. First, find a dry tree stump and carve a small hole in it with a knife. Put some tinder in the hole, not too much, preferably pine needles or plant fibers. Then find a hardwood stick. Hold it between your palms and rotate it.
Victoria glanced at Noah. He was sitting on the forest floor, carefully listening to her every word like a student hanging on every word. He looked so earnest at that moment that Victoria had to stop mid-sentence and smile.
Anyway, can you remember all that?
Noah nodded confidently. Yep. Victoria didn't doubt it. Since meeting Noah, his various performances had made her very curious, especially since Noah had been able to covertly shoot and kill the mercenaries from Bloodwolf Mercenary Company. Victoria didn't know how Noah had done it and didn't ask, but she was very clear in her heart that Noah was very familiar with survival in the wild jungle and had very high potential. After thinking about it, she spoke.
You'd make a great sniper one day.
Noah looked at Victoria in surprise. As a border guard, not even a scout, he was a long way from being a sniper.
Thanks, I hope so. Anyway, there's a problem, right? If the tinder's too small and if it's windy, it's easily blown out. So what do we do then?
Victoria nodded, seeing that Noah clearly understood the problem.
You're absolutely right. So to protect it from being blown out, you need to clear a flat, windless area away from dry grass and kindling. Lightly place fine twigs and thin kindling on top, then stack larger, longer firewood and place the lit tinder in the middle, gently blowing on. Noah nodded, and Victoria continued. The setup of the campfire should adapt to the terrain. It can be designed in a cone or a star, parallel, and so on. You can also use rocks to prop up the firewood or lean it against a rock wall, placing the tinder underneath and lighting it. Generally in a windless spot, dig a pit about 3 feet in diameter and 1 foot deep. If the ground is too hard to dig, find some roots to build a circle. Then place the tinder in the center, stack some firewood on top, and light the tinder. If the firewood hasn't caught when the tinder is about to burn out, keep adding more tinder through the gaps in the firewood until it catches.
Noah noticed Victoria had started coughing. She had just recovered from a fever and was still very weak, having walked half the day. "Let me try while you rest." Following Victoria's method, he found some stones and dirt to build a circle, then gathered tinder and firewood. Finally, he used the friction method to light the tinder, gently blowing on it to grow the flames before placing it on the kindling. The fire quickly roared to life. Seeing the blazing campfire, Noah grinned. "Thank you." Victoria nodded without comment, closing her eyes to rest. Noah found some soft mud to coat the pheasant and then dug a pit in the ground. He placed the pheasant in the pit, covered it with a thin layer of dirt, and drew the campfire over to roast it. Noah also sat down to rest. Victoria spoke with her eyes closed.
Next, I'll teach you the third skill, silent communication, military sign language.
Noah looked at her, surprised by her generosity. Each lesson brought them closer together. He wondered what their relationship would become once this journey ended. For now, though, he had enemies to catch and skills to learn.
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.